Hello and welcome to the Winner's Circle. I'm your host, Dr. Sean. We're continuing the conversation on how you can win and how we can win together. Each week we have a guest on who cares a lot about what's going on in our society and who has a special expertise about the area of concern. The issue of concern today is that most of us feel stuck and we feel like we don't have enough choices. Our guest is quick to tell us that we feel stuck because we don't have enough personal sovereignty. Here to tell us more about that is an executive coach and my sister, Oluremi Sano. Oluremi, welcome to the Winner's Circle. Great to have you on.
Thank you, Sean. Thank you so much.
Great to have you. You know, we've had this conversation before, and I'm representing a lot of people out there who feel stuck, like we don't have enough choices, like we feel like we're being watched by Big Brother all the time, the man, just some entity that maybe we work for that's looking over us, and we don't feel that we have the freedom a lot of times to do what we really want to do. And we just really feel like we don't have enough choices. And I've heard you talk about this before, and I think that we can learn a lot about your approach to personal sovereignty. So let me ask, when you say personal sovereignty, what does that mean for us?
So let me just give you my personal living definition of that. When I talk about personal sovereignty, one of the ways I describe myself is a lover of life's infinite possibilities. So if you don't understand how to harness life's infinite possibilities, most of the time it's because you don't control your own time. You might not control your own resources. You might not have the mental space to be able to come up with an idea, put that idea into action, carry it out, see it through to success on the other end, and all those different steps along the way, including obstacles. So for me, personal sovereignty is being able to do that, on a daily basis, owning 100% of my own time. I get up and work for myself every single day, been doing it for over 27 years. And I totally enjoy working for myself and in my own space, creating the mood, the manner, and the method, in which I do things.
Nice, nice. So now I should let our guests know, our viewers know that you got your education early on, and you have a bachelor's in English as well as a master's in higher education administration. You were working, you had a very not only successful, but secure field in education, one of the most secure areas in the world. And then you decided that you wanted to go out on your own. So What you're saying means a lot. It must have been that interest in personal sovereignty that drove you in the direction.
Yeah, so what I did the path that people tell you to do when you are young. We all follow the path because at that point we're being guided. What I think is that children should start being able to explore early on in life. Like we should give them more room to explore. I like the homeschooling idea, but homeschooling is not for everyone, even though we're doing it right now during a pandemic. But what I like is even in a structured education setting is for children to be able to explore different ideas, things that they like, things that they love, things that bring them joy, things that bring them happiness. And for us as adults to be able to guide them through that. What I did as a youngster, let me just tell you, even at first, second grade, third grade, everything, my family knows that I'm the person that explored just about everything, dance. I signed myself up for a dance class at second grade. I tried every instrument under the sun, including a violin that ruined all my family's ears. So I did piano, I did trumpet. So I liked to explore. And I think if we let children explore, we really need to me as an educator, former educator and continuous educator, just a sovereign educator, I like to teach people how they can do something versus limiting their access to it. And so for me, what I decided to do is to explore the different things that I have available to me. And I want to be able to teach people that, and that's what I do regularly on a daily basis, is teach people how to explore the things that they love, the things that they're passionate about.
I get what you're saying. So, whereas most of the times when we take to our career development, we get on kind of a pathway, really, and we even tell ourselves that we're going to put some blinders on, we're not going to look too far to the left or too far to the right, and we're actually just going to keep going straight. And while we're doing that, we're really not examining other opportunities. So I like your exploring approach. I should ask, how about, let's say, a young lady, say in her 30s, she's got a couple of children, she has a full-time job, she feels bound to her job. As a coach, an executive coach, how would you coach her? What would you recommend for her to get more personal sovereignty?
Well, okay, so I'll answer that in two ways. One, I was that young lady in her 30s, except for I was 26 years old. And I took the path that you're told. I went to school, graduated high school, went and got my bachelor's degree, went straight to graduate school, got a master's degree in higher ed administration. I initially, right after that, started a PhD. And so the path looked good from other people's eyes. I did 33 hours toward my PhD. And during that process, I, started having some difficulty and ambivalence about where I was, the setting that I was in. I was in a great job, as most people would look at it. I could have stayed there for 30 years and become a university president, which was my initial goal, to become a university president of a small Black college, HBCU. But I would have been gray on one side and bald on the other, because literally the feeling that I had about what I was doing and the job that I was at and the environment that I was in was not a good feeling at that time. So I wanted to change that. And I had to talk it through, with people who really expected things of me, like, you're going to quit your PhD and go start a business, So that 30-year-old was me. I started a business at 26 years old with my own money. And actually what I found out in exploring something outside of that path that was drawn for me and drawn for us in this society is that there was no limit. There was no limit, no caps on how much I could make. I actually made way more money as a young business owner than I did with a master's degree and 33 hours toward a PhD. And so what I would tell young people is that it may not be easy, because you have to go, get your feet wet, and you have to earn your stripes in business. And you do that mostly through trial and error. You know that, because both of us are business owners. And so, but it is so gratifying, because your spirit is free in that process. And that's what I mean by personal sovereignty. You start learning about freedom through that process. No one is telling you what to do. You can do it. You should do it. You have the freedom to do it. You have the room to do it. You have the room to be creative. But on the other hand, you have to do it. Like, if you don't do it, you don't eat as a business owner. So, there's a flip side to everything, but it's so gratifying.
Sure. So you're reminding me about young Sean Hubbard before medical school, and I thought that I wanted to be a neurosurgeon. And so I really bought into it emotionally, and I was on the path, and I had blinders on, and I didn't want to look at anything else. Sooner or later, people were telling me, you don't really seem like a neurosurgeon. And I didn't listen to them, of course. I just kept my blinders on. I kept moving forward. And at some point, I did have to, it behooved me to look at other opportunities. And when I did, I discovered that neurology really is a big part of me. So within medicine, neurology makes a lot of sense. I'm so glad that I looked at my choices. As I hear you talk about personal sovereignty, it starts to sound like you're saying being self-employed. Are they the same thing in your mind?
They're not the same thing, although being self-employed helps you with personal sovereignty, because being self-employed, it allows you the freedom of mind. You don't have a lot of the psychological noise that is normally hammering on you, sometimes at jobs. And a lot of times people spend their entire life at a job that they do not like. They don't like the people, they don't like the environment, they a lot of times don't like how they're being treated. And so entrepreneurship allows you to create your own lane. It allows you to draw a lane that is aligned with your purpose, things that you like, things that you love. It also allows you to build a clientele or a constituency that, people who are drawn to your energy, your spirit, the way you do things. And 9 times out of 10, those people are people who a lot of times become family members for most entrepreneurs and small businesses. So personal sovereignty, on the other hand, is larger than that. Personal sovereignty is something that I think we need to teach in the United States, because the orientation is completely antithetical to that. The orientation that we get in the United States is one where people are sent on tracks through education. They tell you what the options are, and they go over some options. And most of the time, I mean, if I'm being completely honest, most of the time, you're not even getting good counseling on that, because counseling from high school and counseling in colleges are limited. They don't give you opportunities to really explore. They tell you, hey, you know, most children grow up hearing doctors, lawyers, you know, so you get a certain ring to that. Most people like, okay, well, I can't be a doctor or a lawyer. So they start chipping away at things that they can't be according to their own mindset, but things that they feel that society expects, like the good jobs or the ones that pay well, you know. Here's another one, athletes and entertainers, you know. And so you don't have to go to school to do that, but most people start thinking, wow, if I did that, or if I were able to do that, I'd make all this killer money. But they may not be passionate about it. They're looking at that from society's lens. So personal sovereignty really, to me, is being able to really truly explore all the options, like knowing that there are unlimited possibilities in life. If you don't like something that's not going well for you, the people around you are giving you grief, the environment is making you sick, leave.
Got it.
That's personal sovereignty.
I hear you. So it does sound like you're saying that small business, either a nonprofit or for-profit business, maybe, are you suggesting that most people should have a side business or their own business on the side?
I actually think that it should be something that people should explore, at least even as a side hustle. So say, for instance, they started a side hustle, you know, something that they can do at home, something that they can sell online, a part of a team of things where you don't necessarily have to go create the structure, but the structure is there, but you can still sell it as an independent consultant and get money from it. Why? Because you have to really chart your own way with that. You have to learn how to make profits. And so you're not at that point relying on somebody giving you a check, you're making the check. And so that is an experience and a discipline and a process that a lot of people should go through, because it actually shows them the freedom. And quite honestly, if I tell you about that 30-year-old lady again, which was me, you know, the 26-year-old at the time, I used to braid hair very well. I've always learned how to braid hair as a young person. And so for me, I got really good at it, and I used to make extra money at it. And quite honestly, while I was a full-time administrator at Temple University, by the way, in Philly, I used to braid hair on the side and make a lot of money doing that. And one day I just got so fed up at my job, I said, let me see how many heads I have to braid to make more money than I make as a full-time administrator with a master's degree. I wrote that down on a piece of paper, and that was all she wrote.
My
Literally,
goodness.
I went and put money down on a building. I got my own building. I set up shop, and I started doing hair, and I got very good at it, built my own clientele, and made way more money than I did with a master's degree. So that was it for me. The sky was not even the limit. There was no limit. You know, the galaxy, the universe, how far can we go? You know, so
Right.
everybody, the exercise is a good exercise. As a matter of fact, it's a great exercise for children. You know, you give them, let me tell you about one of the things that I do with children, just as a matter of example.
You know
My
what?
Money
We
Unit,
might
it's
I might take a break just briefly, and
Okay.
then we'll have a commercial break, and then we'll come back, and I want to hear more about your approach with children. And of course, I'm going to ask you the big question, but that's a very important item that you bring up there, how we approach education and career development. As you're aware, we've both seen business schools where people go through school, a business school, and they have an idea that they want to start a small business, but they never really do. And that's like the
Right.
overwhelming majority. So I look forward to dealing with that. We'll join
Okay.
you right back in a few minutes.
All righty.
Why buy local? When you shop with local businesses, you're spending your money on more than just the item you're buying. You're adding a building block to your neighborhood. It starts with a single purchase, maybe a cup of coffee, groceries from a local co-op, or even a shiny new bicycle from one of the nearly 28 million small businesses nationwide. Your money doesn't stay in the till for long though. Local business owners use the money to create a lot of economic activity in your neighborhood, like buying from suppliers, many of whom are also local businesses, paying taxes to the city, which builds and maintains the infrastructure we all rely on, employing local workers, contributing to 65% of the net new jobs each year. Add this all together and you've got a recipe for a happier, healthier, more connected neighborhood. Now that's an investment worth making.
Welcome back to the Winner's Circle. I'm your host, Dr. Sean, and we've been talking to Oluremi Sano, an executive coach, and she's telling us and educating us a lot about the importance of personal sovereignty and how that can help us to feel like we're winning, create more wins, feel better about our workspace, our personal space, our living space, our life overall. Oluremi, welcome back.
Thank you.
I wanted to follow up on what you were saying with regard educating our young and education in general, and really not just thinking about track mode like we are. What was the point that you were making before we went for our break?
So the point I was making is teaching children early on through different modules, whether you're doing it at home, at a community center, at a library on the weekend, but getting that education in about entrepreneurship, or how do you start a project that you can then go make money on or earn money on for children, teaching them about earning money, through their own effort. And that is a seed to entrepreneurship, because when you're earning money on your own effort, it means that you own it. You come up with the idea. I do a module called My Money and Me with children through a nonprofit. And basically we teach them to come up with an idea, get their investors. A lot of times it's their parents or their aunties, uncles, grandmoms. So you get your investors $10 a piece, come up with your idea, even if it's cupcakes. Say, for instance, they made 100 cupcakes. You sell your 100 cupcakes at $2 each. You have $200. 9 times out of 10, it only took them a couple of boxes of cake mix and some, cupcake little rings. And so they have a profit left over. They had investors, they had people who believed in their idea. And so those are things you can teach children early on, but you also have to teach adults the same thing, because many adults, like you said and referred to earlier, are not trained for entrepreneurship. So they don't know that sense of freedom. They do know cookie cutter jobs. They know how to go into a job track, and a lot of times, I don't know what the statistics are. I'd be interested in hearing it, but people don't usually stay in the job that they actually went to school for. Maybe in a specialized discipline like yours, but for the most part, people skip around and then they finally land somewhere where they can tolerate. But do they enjoy it? Do they love it? Are they passionate about going to that place every single day,
Right. Yes, you're right. So the other day, it snowed pretty heavily here, and I'm in the Northeast. We all got about 8 inches, maybe 10 in places, and I was looking around for somebody who might come to my door, and I was thinking maybe I'll go to the local Wawa and see if I can find some people that are standing around there with shovels, trucks and things like that, who could take care of my driveway and sidewalk. It's a pretty time-consuming area for me. I needed to get out. My wife needed to get out. I couldn't find anybody really who would come around. Nobody comes around to the door, and even during the summertime, I don't see children out looking for work the same way that we did. And so I think that you're right. We should start teaching more of this. So let me understand how you help adults. Do you help them get started and find paths? What's your approach for adults you work with?
So I do. What I do is I have developed a community called, Fihankra has been my brand for over 20 years, for 27 years now. And Fihankra just means safe space. So it allows people an opportunity to come into a space that they feel comfortable in, that they're respected in, that they're valued in, no matter what background they are, and enjoy learning whatever it is that they're learning. And so for adults, it's the same thing. Right now, my concentration primarily is in nonprofit development. And so I help people from start to finish create their nonprofit, turning their passion into something that impacts people. And I also show them in that process how they can pay themselves with a full salary like they were getting paid in a job, except for they can also expand what they're usually making, in a job as an executive director, like creating their own nonprofit. And so that is a learning process because we have to go through budgets. We have to go through, outlining your organization. We have to go through how do you get the money and the funding, to get your organization to where you want it to be. How do you impact people and keep up with the metrics around that? And so that in and of itself is something that has to be taught, and most of the time when somebody is seeking that knowledge and seeking change in their life, they're open to learning, and that growth mindset is what can take people to another level.
So you help people get their nonprofits started, it sounds like, and that's a big part of helping them develop their personal sovereignty. Is it difficult and time consuming to get a nonprofit started?
Not at all. What it takes is people taking, several weeks out of their month, carving that out and just saying, this is what I want to do. This is the avenue I want to explore. These are the type of people I want to impact. And so we sit down and we create what is essentially a business plan. It becomes like a 15 to 16 page packet that kind of structures their organization, including your mission, your purpose, what program pillars you're going to deal with, who are the people that are going to be on your board, which is essential to a nonprofit. How are you going to come up with the money? How much money are you asking for to do what you're trying to do, which becomes your operational budget. How do you raise money, a capital campaign, and all those organizing documents, articles of incorporation, bylaws and whatnot. Those are the things that the state and the federal government require. So we go through all of those things, and that, kind of gives people a lane that they've never explored before, because you have to learn those things. You have to kind of go through the steps and learn going through the steps. It doesn't take long, couple of weeks getting the process going. And then we chart your entire year out. So strategic planning is also a part of that, cutting your year down into quarters, understanding how to do the work, disciplining yourself. So yeah, ongoing coaching is needed all the time in that aspect.
Wow. So suppose you have somebody who, let's say, they have a full-time job and they're trying to figure out, where should I start my nonprofit? I mean, it sounds wonderful what you're saying. And I have to ask you, where is the money coming from also? So those are two questions. A person wants to find an area because they want more personal sovereignty, but they want to be happy also. So how does a person find that area where they can start their nonprofit, as well as where's the money coming from?
Right. So good questions, both of those. So a lot of times people find their area from the passions that they have, or things that they like, or things that they feel need a change or need a solution, things in their neighborhood, things in their community. So for instance, young girls, I work with one of the executive directors who's dealing with young girls, and she has a passion to give back to young girls, to teach them things like, etiquette, self-development, career readiness, those types of things, cultural awareness. So she has, several pillars that she's actually impacting young girls with. And so people usually find a need basically right around, what they're doing. That same executive director has daughters, she has daughters that she raised. And so she knows what type of issues they went through in personal development, obstacles and and joys that they went through, so she can help the other young girls. As far as the second thing, if they're at a job and they want to get away from their job, or they want to explore something out of that, you basically need to do a self-assessment, and sometimes talking it out with people is important. People sit around at jobs that they just do not like. They're doing it for money, for a check, and so one of the things is talking it out and exploring with someone who can help you really free your mind and help you chart out what you might want to do differently. Yes.
And so when you start your nonprofit, then you're anticipating that you're going to be getting paid from somewhere.
Right.
Are you getting paid
Where does it come from?
Where does the money come from?
So the money comes from, once you have your plan down, then there's tons of money. There's no limits to money for nonprofits. There are rolls and rolls and rolls. There are portals and portals and portals. There's thick manuals at nonprofit centers all over the United States full of grants, right? Grants that are just sitting there. People who are philanthropists who have given back. There's one grant family. Let me just give you an example in New Orleans who left $121 million in the city, the Windsor family, to, just basically for the city to do what they want to do with the money in certain areas. They usually give direction in terms of where they want their money to go, but that money, including the endowments that can be started from that money, just generate money over and over. And so the cities are able to give it away. Now take that times 100 million other people who have donated money. So there's no shortage of money. The money can come from grants. It can come from donations from friends, family, constituents who believe in your idea. The money can come from you going out and creating a fundraiser, something very creative, that you want to bring money in with. They have companies set up just for fundraisers for nonprofits, like the world's finest chocolate. Those folks, those folks that get us fat with chocolate. But people raise hundreds of thousands of dollars for their nonprofits with things like that.
I see. Okay, so we could have a nonprofit organization that also serves the same type of function that a for-profit organization would serve, but then generate a revenue?
Yes, you can generate a revenue. You can also generate a salary. And see, the thing with people going into jobs is that they've never had to pay anyone. They're always on the recipient end of that. So they've never had to administer where money is going to go. But for a nonprofit, even for a for-profit, when you build a salary in for yourself, you're basically creating a budget that allows for you to be able to pull a salary from that and to pay other people to help you, with what you created as a for-profit business owner or a nonprofit. And so it's very important for people to understand that, when you create a business, you also have to create a budget, and you want to be able to make sure that that fairly pays you according to market, according to, your effort. If anybody remembers going through job interview after job interview, a lot of times they say, this job is, the salary is commensurate with your experience. I always used to wonder what that meant when I was younger. I'm like, it says it at the outset, but when I'm at my job, I end up doing a lot more work than what I'm getting paid for. People feel used, they don't feel valued, they feel under-respected. And so you can really just carve yourself out of that. And to me, personal sovereignty is finding a way to do that.
Perfect. Yeah, so recently I saw, and I heard you mention earlier that as we're figuring out in what area we should have a nonprofit, and it would be in the problem solving. So it's those things that might irk us in our immediate surrounding or our community, and we want to solve those problems. And it reminded me of a meme that our income is proportionate to the degree of the problems that we're solving. If we're solving big problems, then we can expect a bigger income, and I can see that leading to more personal sovereignty. I really appreciated your input on this particular subject, and you helped me to connect a lot of dots in conversations that we've been having before. So I really appreciate you coming into the Winner Circle to explain to me as well as our viewers more about personal sovereignty. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
Maybe we can follow up on some of this on another show. And to you in the Winner Circle, I hope that you learned a lot about what Oluremi Sano had a lot to offer. I think that we'll have to get her information, and we'll certainly put it in the comments I think you saw her Fihankra Global Education, and you saw that in the show earlier. We're going to find out a way that you can link up with her and get more information for yourself. It makes a lot of sense that if we're solving big problems, that we will be able to have more personal sovereignty for ourselves. I hope that you'll join us next week at 2 o'clock Monday and 6 o'clock on Tuesday for more information on how we can keep winning. Until then, take care, guys. Keep winning.